Guess who got brands talking? Brandlive.co.za.
And good morning. We're live from Johannesburg, Melville studio. Unfortunately, Eric is not in studio with me today, so I'm staring at a really blank studio. I can see Andy. Good morning, Andy. And we're phoning Jo Watson today. She'll be calling through. We're going to be talking Wattpad. We're going to be talking about her journey in the South African publishing industry and where she's come from and where we can find her today. Jo, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yay! Good morning.
Morning. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good.
That's good. I'm so glad that you could join us today. I know it was very short notice, but I know that you were in and out of South Africa recently.
Yeah, I was in New York for a few days. It was bloody cold and that was horrible. But other than that,
Gosh,
it was
I've
great.
never been in New York in the winter. I can't even imagine.
No, it was, I got sick immediately. It was like 33 degrees when I left and 5 degrees when I arrived. And I was immediately sick.
Oh, gosh,
So.
I'm so sorry. As Africans, we can't handle the cold.
We can't. I think our blood's different.
And so tell me all about your trip, and then we can just take it back after that to see where you started and how, everything in the publishing industry has fallen into place for you. Because, it's taken a while. It doesn't happen overnight. But as I understand it, your Wattpad success practically, some would say, was overnight.
Yes, it was very strange. So firstly, Wattpad, for those who don't know, is sort of an online writing community where anyone, writers and readers even, can kind of post whatever they want there, whatever their stories are for free, and people read it. So it's a really great kind of social platform to get people reading and writing, anyone really. And I was in New York for their annual conference, WattCon, and I think it's about the fourth or fifth conference they've had, and it's grown from a few people kind of, getting together in a room to a 2-day conference at the Marriott Marquis in New York. So it's really grown. I started on Wattpad, and like you say, it's taken a while, but it was sort of overnight. It was particularly strange. I posted a book there, and almost overnight it kind of became one of the most read things on Wattpad. And today I think it's got about 8 million reads or something.
Congratulations.
That one in particular.
So your first book that you posted on Wattpad, was it just you were sitting there one day, and because you're a very creative person, if I'm not mistaken, you're in film, right? Film industry in South Africa.
Yes, I was in the TV industry for many years.
Okay, and then you just decided, you know what, I've got the story, I want to write, what can I do? Because I'm assuming, like me and most writers, we've got the story and we want it out now. It's like it's exploding to come out, and You just did it.
Well, sort of. Okay, so what happened was I was getting a bit frustrated, to be honest, with the South African industry generally. I felt I needed to reach a bigger audience.
Yes.
I felt like I needed to get my stuff overseas. I was feeling a little bit stifled creatively. I must say, I don't want to be offensive to anyone, but I think anyone that works in the South African sort of industry can kind of go, there are certain limitations and stuff you can and can't do.
Yes.
And
especially genre-wise, do you feel that?
Well, I wasn't actually working. I had no intention of writing a book at that point. I wasn't writing books. I was writing TV.
Okay.
And I felt a little bit restricted in terms of that.
Yes.
So I kind of started Googling, writing overseas. How do I write overseas?
Okay.
Become an international writer. I started Googling all this stuff as one does. Google's your best friend and your worst nightmare, if you're sick and you start Googling symptoms. Then you're going to die, obviously, if you have a headache and you Google. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
And then I found this competition online, and it was being hosted. It was a book writing competition. It was being hosted on this online platform I'd never heard about called Wattpad. And I thought, I can write a book, can't I? Surely I can write a book. I'd never tried one.
Yes.
And so I did. The deadline was in 3 weeks' time. I just wrote this book. I had no intention of being good at it. I thought, I've got nothing to lose. No one knows me in this competition. No one knows Jo Watson. If it's a really crap book, I don't mind. So I just posted this thing online. I ended up winning the competition. And my book landed up going on to win an award that year for being one of the most read things online. And then after that, I won this competition and sort of got offered all these publishing deals, and then got an agent, and it sort of spiraled from there, basically.
And the journey from there to here now, I'm thinking it's about 2-3 years now.
Yeah, it's about 2 years, I'd say.
2 years.
Yeah, 2-3 years. You're right.
Yeah, because I remember
the
I
first
met
part-
you at SARE, which was the writers' event that we hosted, and I googled, successful writers, South Africa, Joburg side, and there was Joe Watson, and that's how we met. And at that point, you were already a Wattpad, sensation. But did you not have 2 books on Wattpad at that moment?
I actually started posting very quickly to Wattpad then.
Okay.
So at the moment, I think I've got about 8 books posted there, I'd say. I think it's about 8 complete titles. I think cumulatively, they've got about 50 million sort of reads there now.
Yes.
I love to post. I love to post to Wattpad. And I think my publishers, there was an initial kind of reluctance from publishers to have your books up on Wattpad. I think publishers are now starting to see the benefit of having your books on Wattpad, having a built-in readership before you publish your book. I mean, I think it's just been proven. My last book, Love to Hate You, which I published on Wattpad.
Which I loved.
The timing was perfect. It was sort of the most popular book on Wattpad at the time. And when I published it, it sold 50,000 copies in the first 2 months, which I can only sort of attribute to the Wattpad success. So I think there is a direct link between them. But yes, it took 2 to 3 years to kind of get going, but it kind of was out of my control. It happened so quickly. It felt like it happened to me. Like I didn't really have control of it. Just stuff started happening. I felt like I was spinning quite a lot. It's taken me a while to sort of adjust to this.
Yes.
And the way
and for those
so
who want
quickly.
to go, the aspiring writers today who want to go to Wattpad, what is the do not do immediately, do not get an ugly cover, right? Although I've seen some
Do not get an ugly cover.
yeah, for your book.
You know what?
I've seen some awful ones on Wattpad.
Wattpad covers are amazing these days. They're amazing. They look fantastic.
They do.
There's a whole industry that's kind of built up around young graphic designers, young cover designers and illustrators actually wanting to practice their skills there. So you can log on to Wattpad and go into one of the chat forums and you can say, hey guys, I would like someone to help me with a cover. And you have these guys that are just willing to jump on it and go, yes, I'll make you a cover. So, but Wattpad also has, I wouldn't say a partnership with Canva. Do you know Canva.com?
Yes.
So you can log into Canva.com and you can get Wattpad template covers.
Yes.
And you can kind of slap them together yourself, which I have done. And they don't look terrible. I'm not saying, it's going to win a cover design award, but, I think a good cover is very important. Having said that, though, it's always the content that is king. So if you have a really terrible cover, but your content is amazing, people will overlook that. But if you want to get seen initially, a good cover is a very good idea.
But I think also what is great with Wattpad is that you can publish a chapter and you can share that chapter and they don't immediately see the cover. So it's content based immediately and they're hooked off the read.
It is content based.
So would you say that people that are not really, professional writers, I hate using that word, people that are not very,
I know what you mean.
They're not very practiced in their craft, to get an editor to go over their chapter, or would you say just keep rewriting it?
Not at all. No. So the great thing about Wattpad is that, teenagers that aren't writers are writing on Wattpad. And I get a lot of sort of messages, especially from Filipino readers and writers.
Yes.
And a lot of them are actually practicing their English there.
Yes.
So they're reading in English to learn to sort of, and then they're writing things in very bad, broken English. But people are reading them and they're really trying. And the great thing about Wattpad, it kind of equalizes everything. It kind of takes that elitist kind of thing out of writing. And anyone can write there. And if your story is engaging, I would say that it's going to, above grammar and issues like that, if it's engaging, people are going to read it. Obviously, if it becomes published, then an editor and stuff would get involved. But there are stories that have gotten popular that have, sort of grammatical errors in. I don't think that's sort of where Wattpad is. It's not about perfection in writing. It's about getting a story out. And, I think obviously there's some excellent books on Wattpad. Let's not make any mistake about that. It's not a
If
a
I'm
silly
not
little
mistaken,
fan
the
fiction
Kissing
site.
Booth was from Wattpad, or was it To All the Boys I Love Before? One of those two. And they're now Netflix films.
The Kissing Booth
Yes.
by Beth Reekles. The Kissing Booth.
Yes.
And also now Light as a Feather, which is on Hulu.
Okay.
So we are really, and I say we because I feel very part of the Wattpad community. There was an article in the Forbes magazine the other day about Wattpad and how it's grown to a $400 million tech company, and how,
gosh.
it's kind of taken over the entertainment industry. And, I have a book in development with a huge sort of American company now as well, for TV. So I wouldn't have access to those opportunities without Wattpad.
Yes.
So it's kind of revolutionizing the entertainment industry in terms of film and TV as well, but also publishing, obviously. But we've had we've had New York Times bestsellers come out of Wattpad.
Yes.
Anna Todd, for example, with her After series, which is now it's coming out in cinemas, I think, very shortly. Paramount Pictures is producing it.
Wow.
So we're not, I think we started and people were like, oh, this is a silly fan fiction site. It's not. Sure, there is fan fiction.
Yes.
What's wrong with fan fiction, to be honest?
There are a lot of big authors that started off with fan fiction.
Yeah. The 50 Shades of Grey started as a Twilight fan fiction, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, wow. That took a wrong turn.
Yeah.
So, for those who are just starting out and they think, wow, okay, so I'm going to go do this on Wattpad, but now they're not getting the reads that they want. What would you say they could, besides sharing it on social media, are there any tricks to just market your Wattpad, platform where your book is uploaded to?
You know what? This is the question I get asked the most, and I think there's, okay, I get asked this question a lot, and to be honest, I've experienced this. If they are going to read your content and it's going to get popular, they find it and they read it and they share it, and it becomes popular.
So word of mouth.
And that is, yes, exactly.
So just keep trying. In other words, don't give up. Just keep trying. Just keep going at it.
Exactly. There are a few things you can do. So, for example, if you're posting a thriller, you can kind of go, you see what the top 10 thrillers are on Wattpad.
Yes.
You go there, you have a look who the readers are. You follow those readers.
Okay.
And you message them and you say, hi, I'm new to Wattpad. I'm writing a thriller. I'd love you to pop by and read my book and see what you think. Which takes a lot of work, and you can do. And sometimes that will gain you something. I really find, this is what I find, if you post something that people want to read, they read it.
Yes.
I've got books that have been read 12 million times, and then I've got a book that's only been read, it sounds only, but 500,000 times.
Okay.
So I know what's popular and what's not popular.
Yes.
So my book that's been read 500,000 times, it's not something people want to read. The 12 million one just sort of took off overnight. So I obviously hit the mark on that one. So I think, with going viral, if you look at something like, I always say, Psy, his Gangnam Style video, it just took. There was no promotion. It just happened. These things, when it comes to going viral, and I use that word quite loosely, it just sort of happens overnight almost. I don't know why, it just does.
Okay, so from Wattpad, what happened to Joe Watson? Where did you go from there?
Okay. So, like I say, it was very fast, very overwhelming, and I was spinning a little bit. I very quickly got an agent in New York, presented by Trident Media. She happened to be like one of the biggest agencies in the world, which again is like beyond comprehension for me. I was a nobody, and they took me on. And then, honestly, within a week, my agent was like, oh, I've got you a 3-book deal with Grand Central Publishing. That was for the first book I posted on Wattpad, Burning Moon. Then I had another book called Almost a Bride, also on Wattpad, and then another third book, which is not on Wattpad. And those came out, and then, they got translated into various languages. They went into the UK where they became bestsellers. And since then, I've signed another 4-book deal, which I'm finished now. and I'm going in to sign in another 4-book deal with.
Gosh, you're a busy
um,
lady.
So yes, so it's I mean, last year was a bit hectic. I brought out 3 books, which I shouldn't have. It was a bit much.
Yes.
That was too much for me. I've sort of said to my publishing agent now, like 2 books a year is what I feel comfortable doing.
Yes.
Because I write slowly and my books are big. They're 100,000 words.
Yes.
You know,
And you want to take
and
your
I write-
time
I'm
with
not-
it. You don't want to rush and
Exactly.
slip up on a character that you're not attached to, and
Exactly. And I'm not one of these writers that can just. They always say vomit out the first draft. Just get the first draft out. I can't do that.
So do
If
you
I have a
plan?
bad
Do you
sentence or a
plan? Do you
bad
structure
word-
your writing?
No, not at all.
So you
Not
just
at
feel,
all.
you feel. And the
I
drama
just go
unfolds, the
with it.
characters just take over.
Correct.
Do you
correct.
feel that with your series, using that method, it was a little bit more trickier when it came to the second one in the series? Because obviously there's a little bit of loose ends you need to pick up on.
Well, each one is a standalone.
Okay, so that
for
was
example,
smart.
It is standalone, exactly. It's a group of 5 girlfriends, 5 BFFs, and each one has their own book. So it's standalone essentially, but there is small links. Yeah. But it was difficult because I'd written the book, the original book as a standalone, and then they said you need to make it into a series. And originally they said make it into a 3-book series, and then it became make it into a 5-book series.
Oh gosh.
And it was super lucky that I had 5 characters.
Yes.
I'd introduced that amount of characters in the first book.
Fun.
So then so each is standalone, but they have the link of the friends running throughout.
Would you ever consider, publishing on your own, not through Wattpad, say for self-publishers out there, if they don't really like, that type of platform, if they want to go just self-publishing a different route?
Well, Wattpad is self-publishing in a way.
Yes.
Because
but do they
no,
get paid? That is what the question would be. You don't get paid on Wattpad.
You do. If
You
you
do?
become you do. If you become one of the popular writers on Wattpad,
Yes.
you do actually get paid to write there.
Okay.
So I get X amount. I get paid to write on other platforms as well.
Yes.
So I get X amount from advertising revenue that people click on during my books and stuff like that. So if you become a popular writer on Wattpad, actually you can earn quite a nice amount of money, to be honest.
Yes.
But that's going to take a while. Look, in terms of self-publishing, I did self-publish, and I found that by posting my book first on Wattpad and then going, hey guys, if you want to read more, I've got a self-published book that's longer, go buy it. I found that very, very
marketing
successful
strategy.
in terms of very, very successful. But, I would love to self-publish again, but it's a little trickier when you've got, I've got commitments and books now that run into 2020.
Yes.
So it's difficult. I can't self-publish, I don't think, 3 or 2 months before a book release and 2 months after. So once you kind of add that up, it's kind of like I've got such a small window of the year to self-publish anyway. At some point, I'd like to become more of a hybrid author, though. But at the moment,
this is what is for you.
I am just exactly. This is where I am at the moment, and it is just traditional publishing at the moment. Besides my other online writing, I write for Radish, I write for Inkit, which are other online writing platforms you can consider. And I write chat stories as well. I write for Hooked and I write for Tap. So I do a lot of online writing, which I kind of consider self-publishing because there's no one governing me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm just in awe at the moment on how things have taken off. You and I, we both, and Erika as well, we just feel like, South African publishers, as you said before, they're very restricted.
Mm-hmm.
You're a woman, you're writing fiction, you're not writing biographies, you're not writing cookbooks.
Let's call a spade a spade. Shall we call a spade quickly? Let's just do it. So I hate to say it, but the South African literary community, there's a sense that they look down on you if you're writing rom-com, which is what I write. I don't think they necessarily think it's true literary And
South
it's not.
Africa
It's
is
not
very
supposed to be like that.
literary. I mean, I write sci-fi. Erica writes, high fantasy.
Yes.
And it was just very difficult for us in the beginning to get anyone to take us seriously. And look where we
People
are
don't take
now.
it seriously.
We're all bestsellers
But
at the
we don't.
moment.
We don't need this industry. It's such a small
It's
industry, and
sad because what is there for our
it's
kids?
there's nothing here for us, to be honest. I mean, I think my books have sold. I mean, I think they were brought out into exclusive books, which is they don't really do or market.
No.
Rom-com is just not a thing here that people necessarily view as worthy literature, whereas overseas, that's not the case at all. In the UK, I'm a bestseller.
Yes.
I'm in shops everywhere, but
Yes.
it's different here. I don't know. And I don't know whether or not it's going to change. And, it's maybe not a bad thing I'm not saying it's necessarily bad or good overall, but it's bad for us. It's bad for writers that aren't writing that kind of stuff. If you want to be in the South African stores, if you want to be a South African bestseller.
Yes.
But that's just the way it is. And you kind of go, okay, let's cast our eyes abroad. It's fine. It is sad, though, if you think about it, because you would
It's
want
it's such a good industry. I mean, it's booming everywhere in the world. It's just not
I
taking
think
here.
it's booming for some writers in South Africa, but I think they write different types of they write a different type of fiction that we
Yes.
don't write.
Okay.
Um,
So the moral of the story is
so-
don't give up. And there are options these days.
There are so many options. With the internet, there's no excuse for someone to be sitting in South Africa going, like sighing and going, how do I get my work to an international audience? Because the answer is there are these online platforms. They are everywhere. Just upload your work. Just do it. Just upload it.
And
choice
just
is
keep
endless
at
in
it.
terms of- And just keep at it. I mean, look, I'm not saying it's going to work for everyone.
No.
I always talk about what pattern I praise it, and I praise the online writing platforms because that's how I got my start.
Yes.
It's not going to work for everyone, and it's not everyone's path to publishing. I know that. But for me, it worked. So all I can say is it worked for me. It may work for you. That's all I can really say.
Okay, we are going for an ad break in a few moments. With us is Jo Watson. She is South African Wattpad sensation. We'll take a break and Jo will hit you up in a moment.
Live from 27 boxes in the heart of Melville, this is brandlive.co.za.
Have you ever thought about the power of social media? Social media has the power to make your business grow. Grow! Yeah. Why don't you let us manage your social media? Because our business is to see your business grow. Visit us at www.bstownmedia.co.za.
What's up?
What's up? This is your host, Nico Barnard.
And your co-host Shantae Russ on Let's Talk Showbiz.
Tune in every Friday at 11:30 to hear more about what's new and what's hot in the film, theatre and music industry locally and internationally, featuring special guests every week.
Get clued in the world of the up-and-coming gems and established artists and industry professionals every Friday.
That's Let's Talk Showbiz every Friday at 11:30 right here on Brand Live.
Live from 27 boxes in the heart of Melville, this is brandlive.co.za.
And we're back. We were there with the ad break. Jo, are you still there? Hello, Jo. Hello. Okay,
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, sorry. No, we were on an ad break. I don't know if you if you heard us.
Problem there.
Can you hear me now?
Hello?
Hello. Are you back?
I can hear you now, yes.
Okay, sorry.
Fine.
We were just in an ad break.
Yes, I'm back. I can hear
Yeah,
you.
I really suck with these ad breaks. I can tell you that. Because Andy, our technician guy, has lost his little triangle. Okay, so before the ad break, we were talking about Wattpad, your publishing journey, the South African industry and publishing, and that there are options out there for writers, aspiring authors. There are options out there for those who want to go into TV as well. You work in the film industry. What do you think has changed in the last few years with entertainment-wise, where that is concerned?
Well, so I mean, like I said, we've got, I mean, there are movies and TV shows that are being made from Wattpad books that are on Wattpad.
Yes.
And I mean, I think a lot of the production companies and a lot of the studios, they're actually trawling Wattpad at the moment. Wattpad's got some great partnerships with Universal, with Paramount, with
Netflix.
I can't actually. Yeah, exactly. So they've got these partnerships with people in the entertainment, in the TV and film industry. And what's great about it is a book gets popular on Wattpad and it has a built-in fan base.
Yes.
Like The Kissing Booth had a built-in fan base, and then it goes on Netflix. And I think it was one of the most popular films at the time on Netflix, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So, Wattpad is just not it's not just for books anymore. It's a lot of Wattpad has just started something called Wattpad Studios. And their sole objective, Wattpad Studios, is to get film and TV adaptations up and running.
Yes.
So if you want to have your own TV show one day or your own film, and you're in South Africa, your easiest option, in a way, almost, I mean, if you can write books, is to kind of put your book out there, and then it kind of automatically, if it becomes popular, is put in front of all these, amazing places and these opportunities that you would never, as a South African, have. I would not have had these opportunities. I'm in discussion now at the moment with some stuff being optioned. These are not discussions that I would have been able to have as a South African here without the help of Wattpad.
Yes.
Or my agent, for example.
I also think a big bottom line is you would never have had that opportunities if you didn't take the leap. If none of us just decided, you know what, I don't care about the challenges. This is what I want to do, and I'm going to do it. And it takes many hours of hard work behind the scenes and Googling and searching and pulling your hair out. It doesn't, it might look like it comes overnight, and yes, yours took off very quickly. And in some people could say in 3 years we've done more than what, most people have done. But it's a lot of hard work.
It's so much work. I mean, I say it took off quickly, and it did. But the work behind the scenes was nights, weekends. I mean, last year, for example, I didn't have one weekend off, and I worked. Last year, and I worked through Christmas as well.
Oh gosh.
So that comes with huge personal cost and personal sacrifice.
Yes.
And I've taken my first break now. I've taken my first writing break about 3 months ago. I took my first writing break in the last X amount of years. And I'm trying now not to work through weekends and not to work through holidays. So it's a lot. I mean, it's a lot of work. If you want this, you've got to work hard. The weird thing is I didn't know I wanted this until 3 or 4 years ago when I posted my first book on Wattpad. I intended to become an author. I'd never wanted to write a book. And it's strange because but I think there was an advantage to me never having wanted to write a book to begin with, because I felt like I had nothing to lose. No one was watching me. No one was going to judge.
Yes.
I never written it. I was like, let me just try and see if I can write it. And I know a lot of writers who've been writing this book of theirs for 10 years. What happens is fear sort of takes over. And I had no fear because I had no aspirations to be an author. And I just thought, what the hell, why not? I didn't have that fear of failure, and I've been working on this book for 10 years. Oh my God, are people going to like it? So I think the difference, honestly, one of the main differences between me and someone who's writing.
Gosh, you're breaking up terribly. Are you with Cell C?
Can you? No, I'm with Vodacom. What's that? Is that a bad advert there? Let me drive. Tell me, I'm in my car driving because I thought I might have to drive if reception got bad. So
I hope you're on Bluetooth.
Am I sounding good yet?
Yeah, you're sounding much better than a few seconds ago.
Okay, I'm going to stop then.
Okay, I'm sorry. We don't have much time. I think we have about 10, 15 minutes, so we won't keep you up too long.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
I think the biggest hindrance to most writers is fear. Fear of failure and stuff like that. And I think, if you want to do it, you're going to have to take that leap and just grind your teeth and bite a bullet and, face the fear.
Yes, and I feel that even if you're successful, there are other pressures that come with it. I mean, I don't have a lot of books out, but I do have books out, and Now that I've reached a certain status, I feel like everything I write has to be better than the previous. And every time I turn things over, even if she is my business partner, I mean, my submissions go through Quill Publishing like any other book would. And she would say to me yes or no. And, Erica's really hard with stories. She's really good with stories. She knows what sells. And every time I submit a book to her, I cringe and there's doubts. Every minute I write a book, there's doubt.
Mm-hmm.
You just want to keep on doing better,
look, it's hectic. So I feel because my books have been such, big sellers and stuff, that I've got to keep producing work that sells.
At a certain level.
And yeah, exactly.
And it changes very quickly in this industry. Don't you feel that what works today might not work tomorrow? People move on to different types of things very quickly.
Exactly. And I mean, that's always the trick as a writer. It's like, do you adjust the way you write or the genre you're writing in to keep up with the trends? Or do you just write what you love and hope that it's still popular in a year's time?
Yes.
And I think that's something writers grapple with. And you often see writers sort of changing genres or trying something new. And I think a lot of it is to kind of keep up with the ever-changing trends. I mean, a few years ago, new adult was all anyone could speak about, which was sort of angsty and all of that. And now actually we're back to rom-com, which I'm lucky to be writing in. So at the moment, I need to write it because rom-com might only be popular for the next 4 or 5 years, like my agent said.
Yes.
And then I'll be like, well, what am I going to write next?
Yeah, and all for me, at that time was young adults, and then everyone was 50 Shades crazy. And
yes, exactly.
And I'm going to keep writing what I write, and I'll write a little bit different in other genres. And I think once again we're coming back to just do what works for you, and carry on. If you love it, just keep doing it.
I think so. I mean, I think if you don't love a book when you write it, I think it shows.
Yes.
I think you've got to love what you're writing. So I think you have to write for yourself in many ways. Obviously, it's probably not smart to completely ignore the trends.
Yes.
At the moment, obviously, own voices, hashtag own voices, that's the new trend, which is a trend which I think is great. It's a trend of diversity, diverse characters, ranging from mental illnesses to different races to different religions and stuff.
Yes.
So that's kind of the trend
to connect
that we see
with
at the moment,
everyone
which I think
out
is great.
there at the moment.
Exactly. And I mean, I think that, again, you can ignore the trends and just write, or you can write what you love, but kind of just keep your ear to the street and kind of go, what is the latest thing people are looking for? Can I incorporate a bit of it into my work, or will it be disingenuous? That's the other thing. You can't just slap a trend into your book and it comes across as being completely, this is an add-on. She's just adding this for popularity's sake,
If I stand back and I look around in the last, I've been in this for 4 or 5 years. It seems like forever. And like we're saying, the trends keep changing. Things that don't work today might work tomorrow. And again, I'm bringing it back to just keep on doing what you're doing. Don't write to impress other people. And what works for one doesn't work for another. Don't envy other people, because if you just really believe in yourself and your product and your writing, other people will, grab onto it too.
I think if you take yourself seriously, I think that's very important. Because I think also there are really a slight disadvantages that it's not really a real job, is it? We're not necessarily taken seriously. And certainly some people look at it as a bit of a hobby. Oh, that's so cute, you write books, I've always wanted to write a book. That's usually what you get.
Yes.
And I think you need to take yourself very seriously, especially if you're writing a genre like you and I do, which is not something it's rom-com, it's fantasy, it's that kind of stuff that maybe is not taken as seriously as like literary fiction.
Yes.
So I take what I do incredibly seriously. I'm very serious about what I do. I'm the most serious about what I do, and I think you have to be. I think you have to be serious about what you do. You have to back your work, and you have to sort of stand by it.
And you need to grow all the time. I mean, there are people. When I read my first book, I'm like, wow, what the hell? How did this even get published, So I think you need to, maybe for those who haven't published anything and written and are a bit scared, maybe just go do little researches on how to produce a good dialogue and how show versus tell kind of thing.
There's so many resources out there.
Oh, I love it.
I mean, again, with the internet, there are so many resources out there. I mean, you can take those master classes from, James Patterson and Judy Bloom. I don't know if you guys know masterclass.
Yes.
It's always advertised on Facebook. You can sign up for one of those master classes and be taught in your house by one of the greatest writers who's ever lived.
It's affordable these days.
It is affordable. It is very affordable. And there's also free resources. If you go onto something like the Creative Pen, that also, I think it's called the Creative Pen with 2 N's, PENN.com. There's endless resources. I mean, there's so many resources out there. On YouTube, you can watch videos on how to write books. And, there's just, if you want to learn the craft, it's not for the elite and the few. You can learn it these days. It's there. It's accessible.
So we've got like a little 2 minutes left. I just want to shout out to you. I mean, you've done really, really great and you haven't stopped. And I know it hasn't been easy. Where can we find you today, stalk you, follow you? Do you have a website where people can reach out to you if they need some advice? Because you are just like exploding with information here.
So, I mean, if you want to get in touch with me, my website is jowatsonwrites.co.uk. I wanted .com, but it's a Chinese company owns .com.
Oh gosh.
So I'm .co.uk, and you can find me anywhere and everywhere at Jo Watson Writes. That's across Facebook, Twitter, and on Wattpad you can find me JoWatson_101. But I mean, if you Google me, you'll find me. If I Google myself these days, I find myself. It's a bit weird. It's a bit of a weird thing.
Right.
You Google yourself and find yourself.
It's like, who put these pictures up of me? Oh, Jo, you've been fabulous. I've really enjoyed talking to you. And we must connecting with our writer group more often. But I know we're really busy. And good luck with everything that you are going to do. I know you've got so much that is on your plate at the moment. And we just want to say that you've been great. You've inspired a lot of people and you've given people some really good information today. I really loved having you on the show.
I'll just say one last thing. If you're interested in writing rom-com or any romance, if you're interested in romance, there's a wonderful organization, ROSA, R-O-S-A, the Romance Writers Association Organization of South Africa.
What I'll do is I'll put the link up on our Facebook page, which is Gossip with the Quill. I'll do that, and I'll put your links up. And we hope that people can find what they need to do and just get on with it.
I think so.
Jo, it's been amazing, and we'll chat soon.
Okay.
Thanks, Jo. Have a good day.
Bye. You too.
Thank you. Well, that's it for our show today. I hope that you guys have, gathered a lot of information. I know that I've learned a few things. You're never too old and you're never too successful to grow. And next week, we'll be back. Erica will be back in studio. And just follow us on our page to see what we're up to these days. Thank you for tuning in. This is Carlisle. Cheers, guys.
Live from 27 Boxes in the heart of Melville, this is brandlive.co.za.